Mike, 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 check. Mike, check. 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Yizzo. You what it do? Welcome back, y'all, to another beautiful episode of Mornings with Omar. And it's me, your host, of course, Omar, aka Omar, aka aka O Meezy for short. Call me either or, but just don't call me anything else. But yeah, man, welcome in to another episode. Thank you all for checking me out and tuning in. Um, Listen, if this is your first time checking in, welcome in. If you came here before, then you know the vibes. Welcome back. Shout out to everybody that listens, all the listeners from all over the world, here in the United States, Texas, PA, overseas, Japan, Germany. Y'all know the vibes, man. Y'all know what we doing. Happy Friday. Hope everybody's doing well, feeling good, looking good, and living good. Rough world, but we gonna make it do what it do. And that's why we here. We gonna talk about some things, and we gonna keep things rolling and keep the ball moving, and just live our best lives while we can. By the time y'all hearing this, listen, I'll be on another trip. Check out the pictures to on the Instagram. Find out where I'm at. Mornings with Omar on Instagram or at ohh.omar. That's my personal page. So, find out where I'm at. Just come check me out. Y'all know I like to take trips. Y'all know I like to keep it moving. I can't sit still for real. It's been a rough world. Rough time, these over in 2021. So I just don't got much time to just sit back and sit around and not do things. Through the grace of good God, I'm able to keep moving around and taking trips, and while I can, while I'm here, I'm gonna do it. So listen, don't forget to take a vacation, especially if you haven't taken one in a while. 2020 was a rough year. 2021 is looking like a rough year as well. So sometimes you just got to get away and see something different and be around something different and different environment. Clear your mind, get your headspace right. But yeah, man, welcome in. Let's see, man. Where we gonna start today? Well, I don't want to start off with anything too negative. So, you know, all right, we can start with how about some movies and things like that. I recently saw the movie. If anybody got HBO Max, I seen the movie Tenet. It just came out on HBO Max. I think like last beginning of this week or something, or the end of last week. And this movie was really good, really really good. I wanted to see it in theaters when it came out, but it was a pandemic, so I don't actually know what happened. I don't know if it came out or if it didn't come out. I just kind of forgot about it, honestly. But yeah, the movie came out. It's like 2 hours and maybe 2.5 hours long. Uh, I don't. The premise is like it's a guy who he's part of like a mission, and only thing he has, to complete this mission is a gesture where he like puts his fingers, he interlocks his fingers, and he says the word tenant. So it's like a code word, but he can't just say it around anybody. And it's basically like he's trying to stop some other people from fucking with the time. So like there's this guy who's trying to invert time or reverse time, and so like he crossed paths with like the future and the past and the present. It's like a lot going on. The movie's long. The dude Christopher Nolan, he's the one that directed it or wrote it, one of the two. And that's the same guy that did like the Dark Knight Rises, and he had a couple other movies too. But I do like his skills when he's directing things and shooting stuff. So I don't want to spoil the movie, but it's definitely worth watching. It's lengthy, so make sure you got the time. Um, is it a good movie to watch with your significant other? I would say so. If you're a dude and you're watching it with your girl, listen, she's gonna ask a lot of questions. But it is like a thriller, and it's like a uh thriller and it's kind of like dramatized. I don't want to say it's a drama, but it's definitely like a thriller, and it'll have you on the edge of your seat, have you thinking like what's about to happen next. You kind of figure out, like, you don't figure out, but you kind of like try to piece together like the puzzle that he's also trying to piece together. So it's very interesting. It's definitely worth it. You know, like I said, if you ain't got nothing to do this weekend, if you got like 2 hours and some change to sit around and kill some time, definitely watch the movie. But like I said, if you watch it with your significant other, she's gonna ask a lot of questions. You know how women are, but I don't want to, say all women are like that. But women like to ask questions during movies. Like we know, like we seen it already. Like this is my first time watching it too. I don't know, but good movie, yo. I definitely recommend it. The only other thing that I saw that I can speak on is this movie. It's not a movie. It's like a documentary on HBO Max as well. It's called Pray, Obey, Kill. And listen, I like well, I can't speak documentaries. Why am I saying documentary? Anyway, documentaries. It's a pretty cool documentary. It's about like a cult type of thing in Sweden, and like a girl he shoots this guy's wife, and he shoots the neighbor's husband. But I don't want to spoil this either. Only thing that you should probably be wary of is that it's all subtitles. The shit's in like Swedish, or I think that's what the language is called. That's where they're at. They're in Sweden, and I think their language is Swedish. I don't know, but you got to read the subtitles. But it's still worth it because it's so, like, it's weird as shit. Like, one of the leaders of this cult, but they don't call it a cult because that's not what it is. You know what I mean? She's called, like, it's like a Pentecostal church or some shit. And like one of the leaders is called the Bride of Christ, and it's like it kind of revolves around her, but you don't know that it revolves around her. Even if you watch it and you're reading it and stuff like that, like, you're not going to know what's going on by me saying these few things. But this stuff is like information that you hear right in the beginning. But yeah, yo, so like you got to read the subtitles. During it, like towards the end of it, they'll have the former members of this cult church, whatever thing you want to call it, speaking on it as well about their experience in it. Even like the girl that commits the murder, that shoots the neighbor and the other neighbor, she's in it. The dude's wife that she kills is in it. Like, everybody's in it. You know what I mean? So you'll see, like, it's two journalists. They basically investigate the murder. I think this happened in like '04, but the cult or church, whatever they're called, they've been around for like mad years. They up in like some secluded area in Sweden called Nutby. Yeah, it's pretty strange. It's pretty wild. Like, I like weird shit like that. So it's definitely worth watching. Called Pray, Obey, Kill on HBO Max. And yeah, man, it was real interesting. If you like documentaries, definitely check that out. If you don't mind reading subtitles, it was pretty cool. I didn't get to watch the new Handmaid's Tale yet. That's on my list of things to watch. I heard they came out with a new season recently, I think last week or so. I still have to watch the last episode of the previous season because for some reason I just never finished it. But I'll probably try to do that, on the way to my destination tomorrow, while I'm on the plane. So I'll probably catch up on that for real. I'm kind of disappointed that Money Heist that was supposed to come out in April. And I don't know if I talked about that before, but I was really looking forward to that coming out, but that ain't come out yet. I think they pushed that back to September. I'm waiting on a new season of Ozark. If anybody's seen that, it starts off slow because I remember I tried to watch it before and I didn't. Like, I started to watch the first episode. I'm like, oh, this shit sucks. And then for some reason I went back to it maybe a couple weeks later or something, and I just binged the whole joint. So Ozark, I don't know when that's supposed to come out, but hopefully that comes out soon. That's a great show. I feel like during the pandemic, we're still in one, and even though people are outside, people are still spending a lot of time inside. So, I don't see why they won't drop it. It'll give the people that still staying inside something to do, something to watch. Um, I just hope they don't come out with like, how some shows they come out and drop something like a new episode every week type of thing. I can't stand that. I'd just rather watch something entirely through. I think that's why I ain't watch Handmaid's Tale yet, because I don't like to watch, episodes per week. I don't like that suspense. That's the word I was looking for earlier for that Tenet movie. It's suspenseful. I don't like the suspense of waiting and stuff like that. I need to watch it through and get it all out. You know what I mean? Or at least have the option to watch it all at once, even if I don't. I did see people talking about the Selena series on Netflix. I did scroll past that, but I didn't click it because I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know if it was just like, I'm pretty sure it's like probably the same story, but I think it's like broken up into like, I don't know if it's a show or what, but I did see people talking about it. I guess because Beyonce was in it or something, or like not Beyonce, but a character portraying a young Beyonce meeting Selena, in like Houston at the mall or something. So I'll probably check it out one of these days. I'm not really too big on shows like that I already know the story of. Like, I like to watch things I have no clue about, because it's just, I like to learn or just be like, wow, that was interesting, so. But either way, to each his own. That shit's out there, and it's definitely probably worth it, if you're into that type of stuff. Damn, it looks like Michael Shea. I didn't know he had a little show on HBO Max. And wow, I'm gonna definitely check that out. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He did a stand-up on Netflix. I can't remember what it was called, but Michael Shea, CHE. I think he played on like SNL before too, or he probably still does. But he looks like he got a little comedy show, kind of like Chappelle's Show type of thing on HBO Max. I'm gonna definitely check that out. Cause yeah, man, people need something to watch, and I need something to laugh at too, for real. And that kind of goes into my next topic. Rediscovering your joy. It's especially for people just experiencing this year, and especially for people of color. Even though I don't like that term, people of color. For black people, minorities, it could have been, or it has been, or it has the potential to be, just traumatic in the sense of the things that we've been witnessing over the course of the first few months of the year, 2020 as well, plus all the other years that we've been living here and hearing about, the George Floyd case, and Rayshard Brooks case, and Michaela Miller, and the countless others that we've witnessed murdered. For some reason, they just like the media likes to not only tell us about this, but show us the videos of it, except the one of the young brother killed in North Carolina. They wouldn't show us that video, but the other videos, they play on TV, or that that's just readily available for the media and on your news feeds and stuff like that. Stuff is traumatic, and it has an effect on your psyche, whether you know it or not, or whether you think you're like tough skinned or not. And then you don't even have to like be a minority or a person of color or indigenous person or whomever. Like, anybody can feel trauma from these events, But anyway, so I was reading an article on Psychology Today about rediscovering your joy, and just like trying to get back to feeling good and feeling joy in this life, because sometimes you can be overwhelmed with all the things going on, to include everything I just said, plus other things: stress, working, finances, whatever. So basically the article gave tips on how to rediscover your joy. and one of the tips was to like reconnect with family, friends, loved ones, people that going to make you feel comfort and feel love and can cultivate like your sense of community or family or just like want and need and just it's people that embrace you. And I think that's very important, especially like if you live by yourself, if you have your own apartment, and your family is hours away or in another state, or you just don't live with them. Try to get back to around the people that care for you and love you, and just reconnect with those people. Another thing is laugh. Whether it's watching a funny movie or watching a movie that is funny that you've seen before, something that's just gonna make you laugh. Whether it's like a stand-up comedy or a movie like Scary Movie or something. I know that came on like the other day. I was watching Scary Movie 2, and y'all know the dude. It was the part where the dude was cooking the food and he was whipping up the like potato salad or something with that small hand and fucking the turkey and being all weird and shit. And it was funny. Like the movie, it's obviously dated, but it still gave me like a slight smile. But I watch the Chappelle Show from time to time just to kind of get a nice little giggle. But yeah, I think I just need to watch something that I haven't seen and get a brand new laugh. So I'm gonna definitely check out that Michael Shea show that I was telling y'all about. Did I give y'all the title of that? The title is called That Damn Michael Shea, and it's on HBO Max. So yeah, hopefully that gives me a brand new laugh that I haven't felt. And it's just important to laugh. Laughter, it gives you that feel good feeling. It releases those hormones that your body needs, and especially in times like this where everything is kind of stressful, everything is kind of traumatic or chaotic, and so definitely laugh. Laughter is important. Another tip they gave was start a new hobby. I think I mentioned this before about just doing something that you haven't done before, like being spontaneous and just doing something that'll surprise yourself or surprise others. So it kind of goes hand in hand with that. So start a new hobby. Do something that is completely for your enjoyment, that it isn't for like another reason. You don't have no ulterior motive but to enjoy it. Whether that's like painting or bike riding or fishing or gardening, trying to learn how to plant or grow fruit or vegetables or something. These are things that I consider doing. I just never have the time. So you could try to play an instrument, something. So yeah, start a new hobby. See where that can take you. That'll most likely bring you some joy. Another tip was add play to your day. So just having fun. Don't always be so uptight. Don't always be everything is work or taking care of responsibilities. Just add a little spark. And it can be the same thing as coloring or bike riding or painting. Maybe doing some crafts by yourself or with your child or your significant other or a parent or a grandparent, whomever. Add a little spice to just everything that's going on. And probably the most important tip, or could be the most important tip, is just talking to someone. Just letting your thoughts flow to someone that's just going to listen and not going to try to solve your problems or not try to tell you what you should do or shouldn't do. That could be a counselor, that could be your bestie, your dad, mom, whoever you can confide in, and just let them hear you talk without cutting you off, or like I said, telling you, oh, I think you should do this. Because especially men, I know I'm guilty of it too from time to time, so I try to be mindful of it, of when someone's talking to me about something, a problem or whatever, I try not to give them solutions. I try not to say, okay, well, you should do this, because as men, we have this thing where we fix things. We want to fix things. When we hear someone talk or we hear problems, we want to fix the problem. So especially for my men listeners out there, if you're listening to your girl and she's going on about her day or how work was, and she's complaining, oh, this girl did this at work today, and blah blah blah. Try not to solve any problems. Most of the time, women just they want to know that you're listening, and they want to know that you know it's more than you just trying to fix their problem, that you actually care. So that's a little tip for my men out there, and I'm sure the women listeners could vouch for that as well. They don't always want you to fix their problem. They just want you to listen to them. So free tip, free game, free gems. That was the article. So just try to follow those tips, if not all of them, a couple of them, and try to just rediscover your joy, especially with everything that's going on. We all need it. We all want to be happy. We all want to feel good about ourselves and good about our lives and the things that we've done up until whatever point we're at, whether we're in early adulthood, middle adulthood, late adulthood, if you're much older. So yeah, man. I did see another article on Psychology Today, and this was more about how things are presented to you and how you perceive things. So the article, it was about black Barbie dolls, you know what I mean, and how they change two different women's lives on how they see things. So the first woman, she despised Barbie dolls because I guess as a child her mom would kind of show her the Barbie doll was a certain way, you had to be high maintenance type of thing, and high heels and large breasts, long legs. I guess she kind of had this perceived notion of this high maintenance viewpoint on how women should be. And then the other female, and both of these women were college graduates with doctorate degrees or something like that. The other woman, she perceived Barbie dolls more as of an empowerment tool, so she's seen it as, I think she even said in the article, she had a black Barbie doll, and this was she was saying how back then her dad used to have to buy Barbie dolls from DC because that was the only place that had black Barbie dolls, and I think she lived in the South. So just to add some context and stuff, but anyway, her mom would tell her hey, this her doll was many things. She started school. She was a college graduate. That's why she had all these careers, and she had her own car, and she had her own house, and she said her mom bought her. And I know the men listeners probably don't give a fuck about this, but her mom, but it's still important. Her mom brought her a Ken doll and tried to put the Ken doll in front of in the driver's seat of the Barbie's car, and it didn't fit. So her mom explained to her the doll doesn't fit because the Ken doll doesn't fit in the driver's seat of the Barbie car because it's not Ken's car. It's Barbie's car. She worked hard for this car, and she went to school for this car, and she did all this work, for all her own stuff. So it gave her that sense of empowerment that, and she always played with these dolls and stuff like that. It was a big part of her childhood. Just I'm sure for, men, we probably had Hot Wheels or fucking G.I. Joes and things like that. I used to have a robot I used to always play with, So, women have Barbie dolls and other things. Oh yeah, and another thing about the previous woman who she didn't like it because I guess it gave her too many stereotypes about women, that you have to cook and be real a wife role. But back to the other female on the empowering side, she looked at these Barbie dolls as like I said, it empowered her to know that she can do anything and be anything and not have to depend on another person, aka a man, for anything. So it's this sense of how can I put it? The sense of just of self. It's very important in your upbringing when you have these, whether it's people you look up to or whether it's toys that you play with. It's important to know that there's people or there's things that look like you that can be successful, and you don't have to turn to something else that doesn't look like you, like a person or someone from another ethnicity, um, for a role model. I mean, if you need to, and if you have a good one, I'm not saying like only look for Chinese role models if you're Chinese, or white role models if you're white, or black role models if you're black. Like, if you got a good role model, you got a good role model. But the importance of having role models that look like you, or toys that look like you when you're growing up, it kind of gives you that sense of purpose as well. Like, okay, I can do anything. Like, I don't even recall having, like, my sisters or anything having black dolls or anything like that growing up, and I don't know what that did for them or didn't do for them. I can't speak for that, but I just know that it's important um for children, especially, to have people that look like them be positive role models. So it's important for, if it's a black child and all they have is white classmates growing up, and white teachers, and white principal, and white police officers around them, and white doctors that they go to, and white whatever. And it don't have to just be white, it could be any race. But if they always have this perception of other people in positions of power that don't look like them, it kind of limits their where they feel as though they can reach their potential. So if they don't ever see anybody that looks like them in these roles, then they like, psychologically, they may think that, okay, I can't never be this because I don't see anybody that looks like me as this. So then they worship other people from different races, for these other things. Even if you do, like, it can also hinder you if you have, like, parents that aren't shit, and then if they're abusive, and it can kind of turn you off if like I said, you have abusive guardians or parents, and then these other people that don't look like you take care of you, then you're going to shun, you may shun your entire people based off of the perception that a couple of them gave you, and turn towards another group of people. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that or right with that, but I don't feel personally that you can be your full self without feeling like you can be anything you want. And if you're an adult, you're obviously going to think, oh, I could be whoever I want, because I'm an adult, whatever. But growing up as a kid, especially if you have kids, which I don't, but I've been around kids my entire, like, working career. I worked in many psychiatric hospitals, and I worked in daycares, and I worked as a teacher. So I contribute most of my skills to children, so that they can be their full selves and reach their full potential. So basically, I'm saying all this to say, like, it's important for role models that look like you. It's like, just like me when I spoke a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, about my school being mostly white. Like, it's not the best thing in the world. It's not the most comfortable thing. Just being in the school where I'm like one of the two black people in the whole classroom, and none of my professors that I had were black. And I mean, the president of the school is black, so that's pretty cool, So it kind of, that right there shows me, like, okay, even though I'm at a majority white school, the president of the school is still black, So even though none of my professors are black, the principal is, or they're not called the principal, they're called something else that I can't think of the word right now. But yeah, I see that, okay, there's levels to this, and she's at the top, and it's a female, so shout out to her. But yeah, man, on to the next thing. Y'all get the point of all that. What else going on? So some guy, I think his name was Tim Scott, one of these government official people, he said that America is not racist. And of course, Vice President Kamala Harris, she echoed the same sentiment. America's not racist. And I have huge problems with both of these African American gentlemen and gentlewomen saying such absurd things because it's just not true. The history of America is racist, and even currently today, it's still constructed as being racist. And it's like, I don't know how we have to just keep having the same conversation over and over when all the evidence points to this being a racist society. Uh, for example, as I mentioned last episode, there's been many lynching bills introduced in Congress, and none of them ever passed. Not one lynching bill passed through Congress. And the people that get lynched in America are black people. I've never heard of a white person being lynched. I never heard of an Asian person being lynched. I never heard of an indigenous American being lynched. I just heard of black people being lynched. And why can't a lynching bill pass? Because it's not like Congress been around since the beginning of America, so, well, after all, everything came together and sides agreed for balances of power and things like that. But that was been what, over 200, 300 years now or so. So, so no lynching bill passes. Cool. That doesn't point to America being racist. Not by itself, right? Okay. Then we have all these police killings of black people. That doesn't mean black people. That doesn't mean America is racist, right? Okay. Black people get disproportionate lengths of sentences for similar crimes of their white counterparts, but that doesn't mean America's racist, right? Nah. Fucking all these Republican states are now signing into law tighter ways to vote. Florida just being the recent one, making it harder for people to do absentee voting and making it hard for. Listen, I could pull up some of the stuff here. Some Republican from Florida. He's one second. So yeah, another one of the things I remember being in Virginia, and I voted when I was living out there. And I went to a school to vote, and at the school, it was a long ass line, and I was in that line for probably like an hour. And there was people like passing out snacks and water and shit for people that's just standing in line to vote. I ain't pay for none of this shit. You know what I mean? So now in Florida, they put into law no influence zone, 50 meters around polling places, which that's going to the no influence zone is basically saying like, so within 50 meters of this election spot, no one can supply food or water or anything. And if you get caught, then you can face up to a $25,000 fine. Hey, but that doesn't mean America's racist, right? Not at all. So, listen. I don't know what these people are doing. I don't know what their agendas are. I don't know why they say these things when, they know they're false. And I know that they're in positions of power, so they got to kind of cater to both sides. And I can understand that, but you have to speak the truth. You can't be in these positions and not speak the truth. That's why I'm like wary on, because I honestly, personally, I wanna hold a official position, here in my city or wherever I reside at, in the future, because I feel like it's important for people to not only, go for these positions, because anyone can be in city council or be on a school board member. You just have to get voted on. So it's something that I'm definitely considering in my life. I'm just trying to, be in a more well-rounded place and learn more about it before I take that step. But these people, they have to speak the truth, and you can't sit here and say that America's not racist when everything about America speaks racism. Like, did y'all ever heard of sundown towns? Sundown towns. Sundown towns. They existed way back when, and they exist still today. And basically, what they are is, when the sun goes down, if you're black, you know, you should get out of that town before the sun goes down. It's basically a town where if you black and you there when the sun goes down, anything's liable to happen to you. And you can even like Google sundown towns in America, and you'll get like a long list of sundown towns. So it's like, it's just frustrating, honestly, because I don't see how people can just spew these things and feel good about themselves and feel like they're actually standing for the people. And I don't just mean black people, I mean all the people. Like, you have to be truthful with the people. Another thing is, before I even let this go, I think it was Mitch McConnell, that sucker. I think he's trying to ban federal grants for the 1619 project. It's like it's like a New York Times journalist. I think they like put together like a curriculum that teaches Black history, inclusive in American history. So it's called like the 1619 something something. And Mitch McConnell is taking away like the federal grant that like helps, schools and stuff get this curriculum and teach it to to the students and stuff like that. And the backlash that this thing received by itself, trying to teach Black history into these school systems. Like, I seen like some video on social media, and like it was a lady saying like, just because I don't want race theory something taught to my kids does not mean I'm racist. Like, some Karen, of course, but it's like, I don't know exactly what she was referring to, but if you don't teach people about race in schools, no, not even that. If you don't teach Black history while you're teaching American history, you can't tell me that that isn't some form of racism, because Black people have been here since white people been here. Black people been here before white people was here. You know what I mean? Honestly, if you want to keep it 100, but they don't teach you that. They just teach you 1619 and on, because that's European history here. But African history was way before that. African wasn't America before it was America. Africans wasn't Europe before Europe was a civilization. Africans wasn't Asia before Asia was a civilization. But that's not the things that they teach you. You know what I mean? So it's important not only for, America to teach its history in its entirety, but it's also important for parents to teach their children, because you can't rely on these school systems that are negligent in teaching the proper education or the full education to your kids. That job is really up to you. And I know it's a lot when, you work 8, 10, 12 hours a day, or you may not be able to, you just don't know when you're going to find the time. But listen, I'm going to be the one to tell you, if you haven't heard it from anybody, if you have young kids, you have young children, you have to teach them, whether you're Black, white, Spanish, Asian, whomever. It's up to you to teach your kids. Schools is only going to teach them so much, and they're going to teach them as little as possible. They just want people to keep coming through, and so they don't really care. I can honestly say I didn't learn anything in school, and I graduated from high school. I went to college and I learned some things, and on my own, I learned even more things. So even while in college, yes, I learned specifically about psychology and the intricacies of it. However, the things that matter to me and matter to the people that look like me, I learned mostly on my own. Mostly all the African American history classes I took in college, they started at 1619. You know what I mean? Or they started in like 15 something, like just right before. They ain't really go back before that. So it's saying something when they act as if though black people only had history from 1619 on or from 1594 on. You know what I mean? So, hey man, do your homework, do your research, and teach your own kids because you're relying on these people to do it, and you wondering why your child is not understanding the complexities of themselves or their people um or of others, and you're just like, ah, why aren't you understanding this? Or and you're getting mad at your kids because they're not understanding fucking the square root of 64 or some crazy shit. Like math is cool, but if they're not gonna be an accountant or an engineer or anything, then all right, you ain't gotta focus too much on math. Focus more about the idols that. Listen, man, y'all got it. Y'all know what to do. I gave y'all the cue. I gave y'all the keys. Now go unlock the doors. Uh, man. So I read a couple weeks ago that this Texas hospital was requiring all of its employees to get vaccinated with by like July. And if you're not vaccinated, then you'll be suspended and then you'll be fired. And this is an interesting topic for the workplace, And even for me, I used to work at a hospital just a few months back while the pandemic was still going on. And one of the things that was in my head was if this hospital makes me or tries to make me get this vaccine, I'm definitely quitting because they already was forcing me to get the flu vaccine, and I had just resigned right before that shit was before that taken into effect because I'm just not a big on vaccines, and I heard that vaccines they don't cause these diseases that people suggest that they do, like Down syndrome and things like that. And I'm sure that vaccines are important to a child's health in some point, like the measles vaccine and those ones that children get as kids. I get that because I feel like those are proven vaccines. They've been around for some time, and yeah, those two things I'll just leave it at that. They're proven and they've been around for some time. However, for people trying to like COVID-19 came out last year, and you're telling me that I should get a vaccine that was developed within 1 year and just take it to my bank and cash it. You know what I mean? When they Johnson and Johnson, they making all these mistakes with theirs, and like, listen, man, I'm just not big on the vaccine right now. Like, if you need it for your family and for your specific situations, by all means, do what you got to do. But you should also just be reasonable and consider everything in its entirety. You get the full vaccine, you still have to wear a mask. You still got to social distance. They're changing that in some states. I understand that. But for the most part, you still got to follow all the same procedures. So, hey, what's the point? But that's just my 2 cents on it. We're going to move along. Man. So, I kind of, if anybody follows basketball, then Kyrie Irving, basketball star that's currently on the Brooklyn Nets, he said maybe like a month ago that it's time to retire the word nigga. And I've since he mentioned this, I wrestled with this back and forth. Pros and cons of retiring the word nigga. We all know where the word came from, right? We all know it's a slur. It's like it's like hate speech, However, as African Americans, we definitely took the word and dropped a hard er, and we made it our own word of endearment, kind of. When we speaking to others, we kind of embraced it and said, all right, we're going to take this word, and now we're going to be the only ones that use it. So it's definitely a tough issue here. just for me personally. It's a word I use pretty often. I try not to use it, especially ever since, you know, not only just Kyrie Irving mentioned it, but just knowing where we come from as black African people, African American people, and the things that the knowledge that we acquired and passed on, and the things that civilizations that we started. Um, it's hard. Like I definitely don't. Whenever I'm referring to someone of prominence, uh, like let's just say like Malcolm X or Dr. King or um, these people that we became familiar with in recent times. I don't call these prominent men figures, the N word at all. So I'm mindful of that. If I'm just talking to my homie, chill nigga, whatever. But I definitely try not to call people who've, you know, fought for the cause and fought for, better lives for all of us. I try not to call these people the N word, and it just kind of makes me wonder, like, is it time to retire the word nigga? I mean, obviously we can't do it because people are going to do what they want to do. You can't control people, but it's something that I definitely, when I'm in my right mind, I don't call people nigga just because I'm trying to phase it out of my language, out of my vocabulary. Um, but it's interesting. I mean, do you think it's time to retire that? Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. It's not like even if we retire it, that the closet racist people aren't still gonna call us niggers. They still will. So what is it that yeah, you never know. You never know. Ah man. We could talk about music. Hey, they said J. Cole, he said he's dropping the off season May 15th. Cold World. It's been a while. I haven't heard from him since I think the compilation albums. Listen, I'm excited. I ain't gonna lie. I'm excited. This is one of the premier artists in the game. There's Drake, there's Cole, there's Kendrick, and that's the short list of them. It's those three, and everybody else follows suit. So I don't know what this album's gonna sound like. It's been a couple years in the making. I don't know if it's gonna sound like 2014 Forest Hills Drive. I don't know if it's gonna sound like KOD. I don't know if it's gonna sound like For Your Eyes Only. Maybe it'll sound like a blend of all three of them. I don't know, but either way, uh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be refreshing to hear his voice. I'm sure he'll speak on topics that has been going on for the past year and a half. Uh, he'll probably have a single. I think he's actually gonna drop a song tonight at midnight, or well, by the time you'll hear this, is already Friday, so he would have already dropped it. So yeah, I wonder what the single's gonna sound like. I don't know if it's gonna be. I don't know. I can't even guess. I don't know if it's gonna be like a single where it's trying to play something on the radio, or if it's gonna be more of I'm Cole. I'll just drop what I feel like dropping, and it's gonna go regardless because it is gonna go regardless. Cole don't miss. Cole's probably one of those rappers. He's up there with like Hope to me. Like, it doesn't matter what he says. He's saying it for a reason, and if you understand that reason, then you understand what he's saying. And everything else makes sense. Like, a lot of people shitted on KOD. I don't know why. I thought the album was phenomenal, even For Your Eyes Only, for that matter. Everyone was like, "Oh man, this shit's mad depressing," or whatever. But if you knew why he was saying it, saying the songs, each song meant a specific thing. Each song was him telling a story about something that wasn't even for us. It was for someone else. For Your Eyes Only, hence the title. So I don't know, man. Either way, I'm excited. The album cover looked pretty cool. Uh, I wonder who the feature is gonna be. He'll probably have some Dreamville people on there. I wonder if he'll have a whole verse. That'd be dope. Um, they had a few songs together. They weren't always the best songs. They weren't like top tier songs, Mr. Nice Watch, and they had A Star Is Born. That was hard. I think they had another verse together too. I can't quite remember, but I hope he has a whole verse. That'd be hard. He might have a Kendrick verse, or he was with Drake. He was with Drake. Remember a couple years ago, I think Drake picked him up from the airport or something. So he might have a Drake verse on there too, for real. It's definitely gonna be interesting. I think that's next week. Next the 15th. Ain't that a? It must be the 14th, not the 15th, because the 15th is a Saturday. So yeah, it's probably the 14th when that album drops. The off season next Friday. It's probably gonna do numbers, man. There was some other songs that I wanted to just tell y'all about that I've listened to, and yeah, so R&B people. This is some R&B songs. Uh, I don't know how to say this lovely lady's name. I think it's called Maeta, Maeta. Song's called "Bitch Don't Be Mad." Pretty cool song. Y'all should check that out. Mariba, song called "Rider." That song's hard. Mereba. I don't know how to say these names, man. People got some different names nowadays. Asiana Alexis, Same Mistakes. That's a good song. The song by Fever Friday with Vori. Okay, that's like one of those new R&B type of songs. It's not really R&B, but they have melodies, so it's kind of R&B ish. That's a good song too, though. A song called "Gone" by Child with like three eyes. It's a pretty cool song too. I like that. Y'all should check those out. But there's some rap songs too that I heard, that I fuck with. Spiral by 21 Savage. That was a hard song. Pretty cool. A song called Perfect Timing by YG, Mozzie, and Blast. I like that song too. Y'all should check that out. Lil Baby had an On Me remix with Megan Thee Stallion. I ain't really care for it. It's not really. I don't know. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary in my opinion. There's a song by Baby Keem and Travis Scott called "Do Rag Activity." My sister, she's big on this Baby Keem dude, and I don't know. Some of the songs that she played, I like. I really did like. It sounded like he was pretty good, but this song in particular, they could have kept that. I ain't care for it. I just ain't like it. You know. That might have been it. That might have been the only songs I really heard for real. Like I said, I'm typically an R&B guy. I could give y'all more R&B songs, but I ain't gonna R&B y'all to death. What else happened in the world? Some things I want to talk about, but I ain't gonna talk about that right now. But let's end with sports. So, for football, y'all know the draft happened. Nothing really new came of it except Aaron Rodgers. He wants out of Green Bay. He's doing everything he can to get out of Green Bay. He's leaking information. He's talking shit about the GM. He's telling people, "Hey, listen, there's no way I'm coming back." And they're saying that sources are saying that the Bears, Chicago Bears, is like the most interested in Aaron Rodgers at this point. It'd be weird to see Aaron Rodgers on a new team, but I do think he'll probably end up being traded. I'm not sure where. Maybe Vegas, Raiders, maybe the Bears. The best fit, I don't know, because the Bears, they have a really good defense. They do have a good defense, and that's what Aaron Rodgers definitely didn't have the last few years. But as far as weapons, he's not gonna have a Devontae Adams over there. He would have Allen Robinson if they don't trade Allen Robinson. But who else? What other receivers do they have? They don't really. I feel like he might end up in the same position that he's been in, you know, if he goes to the Bears, except he would have a better defense. I can't remember the list of teams. I think the Vegas Raiders was one of them. They needed a safety. I know that. I think they addressed their defense in the draft. But I don't know. I don't know where a good fit would be. You know, I guess for him, any place besides Green Bay would be a good fit because he feels like he's Aaron Rodgers and he's just, hey, you send me to these places that I want to go, I'll make it happen. And that's probably true. You know, with a better defense, he'll probably do better. But he being in the AFC then, which is probably better too because, I mean, he would have to deal with Patrick Mahomes. He would have to deal with Baltimore Ravens. Hey, my Bengals is on the rise. If we could get a good defense, the Browns is good. The Steelers might be back. They got a running back in the draft. Texans, nah, they're out of here. The Bills is still there. So it's not going to be easy in either AFC or NFC. But hey, listen, it's going to be interesting. I think they're not going to probably make the move until like June. So we just got to wait till then and you know, check back because it's going to be crazy. He's basically on that, hey, y'all drafted the quarterback, start him. That's y'all guy, y'all start him. Yeah, I mean, I ain't it. So it's definitely interesting. As far as basketball, listen, it's coming down to the nitty-gritty on the playoffs. As we stand right now, I think Jazz is on top of the West and Philly's on top of the East. They saying Nikola Jokic is the front runner for the MVP. I don't understand how. Like, I understand he's averaging like 27 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, and that's very good. Listen, I'm not taking nothing from him. However, I just feel like what Joel Embiid is doing is different. It's different. I just feel like his team is not as complete as the Nuggets is. They're just not. Like, the Nuggets are a better basketball team. So the better team should be doing better than the team that's not as complete. I mean, the 76ers have Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, who wasn't really playing, you know, this year. He's been in and out the lineup, and Tobias Harris, and who hasn't really been. I mean, he's been good, but the Nuggets are a better team. They have better weapons. They have better pieces. They're a better complete basketball team. They're like a better version of the Spurs today. I mean, and I don't get it, honestly, because they didn't have Jamal Murray for 10 games, 12 games, whatever, and they went 10-2, which is nothing to slouch at. However, up until those 12 games, they had Jamal Murray the whole time. You know what I mean? So you can't just discredit. You can't just say, oh, for 12 games, he's been balling crazy, so he should be the MVP. Like, they still had a whole complete team before that when Ben Simmons was in and out of the lineup, and they're still at top of the East with the Brooklyn Nets having the best 3 players on one team, even though, you know, James Harden hasn't been there. And, you know, they're competing with all these other teams in the East, Celtics, Bucks, the Heat, and so on and so forth. You know, they're at the top of the East. I don't think anyone thought they would be at the top of the East. I did, because if y'all remember, I predicted the Nets and the Sixers in the Eastern Finals, and I think it's still going to be that. So listen, if I was a voter, I'd vote MVP for Joel Embiid, and if I wasn't going to vote for Joel Embiid, I would vote Chris Paul, because the Suns are the second in the West, above the Clippers, above the Lakers, above the Blazers, everyone else. They're second. This team was in the play-in last year, in the bubble, and now they're second in the West. Like the Suns, bro. The Suns ain't been nice since ever, and they're doing all this because of Chris Paul. You know what I mean? And the Lakers are just falling and falling and falling. I don't think the Lakers are gonna get the West. I think it's gonna be the Clippers or the Field. You know, it's not gonna be Lakers. They're done. LeBron's injury, it's holding him back. It's holding the team back. AD still not doing. He's not balling like AD. So it's going to be an interesting playoffs, and the playoffs start in like 2 weeks. And I don't know. So I'm gonna just go early prediction. Joel Embiid gets MVP. I'm gonna go Bucks and the Sixers in the East Finals, unless James Harden comes back. I don't know when James Harden's coming back. And in the West, I'm gonna go Clippers, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the Blazers, Clippers and Blazers in the West. Yeah, that's my guess right now. You know, next week I'll go with like I'll give a prediction for all the awards: MVP, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year. I'll do a prediction for all those next week, and I'll dive a little more into the playoffs and everything. But until then, man, listen, I appreciate y'all for checking me out. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to become a patron. Let's just take this thing to the next level. And listen, I'm gonna give y'all a code for the store for shopgia.org, GIAH.org, for 50% off between now and when this next collection drop. You can get 50% off anything in the store. Use the code PODFAM, PODFAM, and get 50% off your entire order. It's only for the podcast listeners, you know. So that's my thank you for y'all. Don't forget to become a patron member. And don't forget to check me out to see where I'm at on another trip tomorrow. Mornings with Omar on Instagram, or follow me at ohh.omar. And yeah, man, I'll leave y'all with this, man. It's not about what happens to you. It's about what you do after it happens. Thank y'all for checking me out. Until next time, it's your boy. I'm out.